The Tennessee Titans have either requested or have already interviewed a total of 11 candidates that we know of so far. I will give you the names of all 11, and I will break down my 3 favorite right now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I told you I'd be with you all offseason, and here I am. It's tough watching playoff football when your team's not in it. There is now officially no AFC South team left in the playoffs. I got mixed feelings on that. A lot of people want, the AFC South to be represented. Me personally, I hate seeing a team in the AFC South do well and make it far. But hey, it's the Texans. They can't make it past the divisional round anyway, so no worries. But guys, let's break down these candidates right now, and I'll break down my 3 favorite, and I'll tell you why. So the Tennessee Titans have now interviewed 8 candidates for their head coaching vacancy so far. Those 8 are Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, Raiders interim head coach Antonio Pierce, who is now officially the head coach of the Raiders, so he is no longer an option. I'm happy for you, Antonio Pierce. Congratulations. Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. We will talk more about him later. Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Panthers offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. And Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. They have another 3 interview requests with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and former Stanford head coach David Shaw. So, quite a variety there. As you can see, not really huge on Panthers offensive coordinator Thomas Brown, not huge on Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. I'm not sure what to think of David Shaw. I like how they're reaching out there. They said they're going to cast a wide net, and that is obviously a wide net, just like they said they would. And I love it. I do. It can do nothing but good by you to interview as many candidates as possible. There's no harm in that at all. Now, there's, out of the adding the 8 interviews already to the 3 future interviews, that leaves 11, but it's actually 10 because Pierce was hired. So out of these 10, I really only want 3, but I would settle for 1 additional. Ben Johnson, Brian Callahan, and Bobby Slowick are the 3 that I personally want, but the one I would be okay with is defensive coordinator from the Ravens, Mike Macdonald, because that defense is absolutely balling out right now. Man, they're the 6th ranked total defense, 6th ranked pass defense, 14th ranked rushing, 1st overall scoring, 2nd ranked red zone, and 7th ranked on 3rd down. That defense is absolutely elite, and they absolutely stonewalled the Texans. If it wasn't for a punt return for a touchdown by the Texans yesterday, the Texans might not have scored any more than 3 points. So, guys, that's crazy. And I want offensive-minded head coach personally, but I would be okay with Macdonald, and I wouldn't hate that option if that's the way we decided to go. But the first guy I'll break down here for you guys, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. One of my good buddies, this is his favorite candidate. This is his number 1 option, and I can't disagree with him. I mean, these 3 guys I'm about to break down, they're all great. They really are. But Ben Johnson, he still has his Lions in the playoffs, and they played today. I imagine right around the time I'm done editing and dropping this video, they'll probably be playing, if not close to kickoff. He has been an offensive assistant quarterback coach, tight ends coach, assistant wide receivers coach, offensive quality control coach, tight ends coach, passing game coordinator, and now offensive coordinator. This guy has experience, and I love how much background he has on the offensive side of the ball across the board. He's been all over. He's been everywhere, so he has the knowledge, guys. He really does. Something that stood out to me during the Lions' last playoff game, which they won against the Rams, was how he passed the ball to essentially seal the game in the 4th quarter instead of running it. That stuck out to me. Go get the 1st down, end the game. I like the aggressive style, and he has guys like Josh Reynolds balling out, who, by the way, used to play for us. Getting the most out of guys like that. We need a guy like that. Now, he has Goff playing very good football right now, and I think he would do very well with a talented quarterback like Will Levis. He also understands you need to run the ball effectively and still use your weapons. Very balanced offense they have over there in Detroit. You know, they have St. Brown. We have Hopkins. They have Gibbs. We have Spears. They have Laporta. We have Chig. Obviously, St. Brown and Laporta are better, you know, than I would say Hopkins and Chig. But I would say Spears, given the lead role that he'll probably have next year, would be overall better than Gibbs. But, you know, they have weapons. We have weapons, you know. We don't have a galore of weapons, but neither do the Lions, really. I mean, they drafted Williamson, right? I think the wide receiver out of Alabama. But, you know, that's, he hasn't really shown, he's shown glimpses here and there, right? But he was hurt, he was suspended. But like I say, he's getting a lot out of guys like Josh Reynolds. I mean, that's what he's going to have to do with us, because hopefully if we did hire him, he's going to have to get the most out of guys like Burks and Phillips to go along with guys like Hopkins, right? But he's done more with less in Detroit, and I would love this hire, and I think he's going to have to do a little more with less with us as well. Big difference, obviously, being the offensive line. Pretty good offensive line in Detroit, not so much in Tennessee. Next guy, offensive coordinator Brian Callahan with the Cincinnati Bengals is another guy I would really like to get. He has been a QB coach for two different teams, the Raiders and the Lions. He had Carr and he had Stafford before becoming the Bengals offensive coordinator for the past 5 seasons. He had Jake Browning playing pretty good football, I would say, in place of Joe Burrow, which I'm sure was pretty hard to do. The Bengals have had one of the more consistently good offenses in the NFL over the past few years. And granted, you know, they have Joe Burrow, but remember, this team has not had the most stellar offensive line. We sacked Joe Burrow, remember guys, 9 times in the playoffs, and the offense was still able to score some points and ultimately beat us. Ryan Tannehill game, obviously throwing 3 picks, but they still scored points besides getting sacked 9 times. We know as an offense, Titans fans, we get sacked 9 times, we ain't winning the football game. No way in hell. The Bengals he had Burrow getting rid of the ball quick, which, you know, obviously makes it easier for them and he schemes guys to get open, changes his play calling all the time. Something I've noticed with the Bengals. The Bengals seems like, you know, they're doing one thing one week and like running the ball, then they're throwing the ball the next week. They change it up. They really do kind of. It feels like they almost scrap their offensive game plan from week to week or season to season almost. You know, they're constantly keeping you guessing, and I like that. That means the guy can coach, right? Now, the Bengals do have a lot of weapons on offense, which makes it easier for them. But speaking of weapons, T. Higgins will likely be a free agent this offseason, unless Cincinnati locks him up long term. But remember, they had to pay Jamar Chase in a couple of years. And I can't see them having those 2 type of salaries when they paid Joe Burrow all that money too. You can't do it. You're going to have to let guys like that go. And we would very, 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 very much welcome T. Higgins with open arms here in Tennessee. And if Callahan could bring Higgins with him, geez, that's awesome, guys. His dad, by the way, Bill Callahan, is the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns fired their entire offensive staff after the playoff loss to the Texans. And the only person they kept on that staff was the old man, Bill Callahan. So that just says right there how much the Browns really think of him as a coach. He got the most out of a really injured unit this year for the Browns. I think they had their top 3 tackles all injured out for the year. Now, I would imagine he would come over to the Titans if we hired his son to be the head coach. Don't see how they would pass that up as a family. One of the biggest, especially because his entire staff was just fired. They kept him, but he doesn't know what's going to go on. I mean, he might want out, especially if his son gets a head coaching gig. Yeah, I could see it. One of the biggest things with Callahan, obviously, is his ability to pull people with him. If we get him, we likely get a stud wide receiver in Higgins and a great offensive line coach in his dad, Bill. This could be a win-win-win for the Titans organization, but not to mention, he is currently the only candidate to have a second interview with the Titans so far lined up. The next one is an in-person interview, as they have mainly, and I'm pretty sure only done, virtual interviews up to this point. So he seems like the heavy favorite, in my opinion. If I were to place a bet, I'd say it might be Callahan, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff out there that says he's one of the hottest candidates there is right now. And, you know, for us having the second interview already with him, it seems like he's a favorite for us right now. Now let's get into the last one here. The last candidate here is Bobby Slowik, who is the offensive coordinator for the Texans, who were just eliminated from the playoffs. Now, the offense for the Texans just got smacked by the Ravens, which is one of the reasons I would be okay with Macdonald, like I said earlier, the defense coordinator from the Ravens. But I will not hold one bad playoff game against Slowik. I will not. The offense committed 8 penalties, 5 of which were false starts on the offensive line. Now, you could blame Slowik and say that, it's the coaching. He didn't have his team prepared. But the Texans don't have the best offensive line at all. And playing in Baltimore is extremely tough. Slowik got the most out of a bad offensive line, which is what Tennessee had this year as well. He also did great with a rookie quarterback, which Tennessee also had this year. A lot of similarities between the Texans and the Titans offenses because there aren't a ton of weapons. The offensive lines aren't the greatest. And even though I think Tennessee had the worst line in all of football, they also had the rookie quarterbacks as well. And granted, I think Stroud is obviously better than Levis at this point. But Stroud, I think, had better offensive scheme, better coaching all the way around. So I like to see what we could do with better coaching with Will Levis. Now, Slowik got the most out of his unit, and they definitely overachieved. That is great coaching. Great coaching. Before they played the Ravens, they put up 45 points on the Browns the week before, and that was a good defense they played right there. And it was in Cleveland. Now, I noticed a lot of sideline routes and scheming guys open in the middle of the field when I watched them play against the Browns. The Texans utilized all of the field, and something that Levis, I think, has showed is that he can hit those sideline throws. He really can. And that's something that stuck out to me with the Texans because, they had the sideline throws and, they're getting people open in the middle of the field. I remember against the Ravens yesterday, I was watching the game. They had one deep guy go right down the middle of the defense, split the safeties, and they had 2 guys curl underneath, and they threw it to one of them. That's just good. That's good play calling, good scheming against a Ravens defense that didn't let up a lot of big plays. They hit some decent sized plays against the Ravens. They didn't go anywhere, but they hit them here and there. Ravens are just better. They're more talented. They're a better football team. Now that's play calling right there, and the Titans simply don't have that type of play calling on offense this year at all, which is why we saw Levis hit it, but he wasn't getting the play calls at all. I think we could do really, really good with Slowik as our offensive coordinator. He's young, really young, and it might have been only his first offensive coordinator job, but he's a hot commodity right now, and I don't believe he will be the offensive coordinator next year for the Texans. Now, Slowik comes from the Shanahan coaching tree, so he was with the Redskins in 2011 under Mike Shanahan as a defensive assistant. He then was an analyst for an analytics company from 2014 to 2016, which I really like because now we seem like we're getting into the analytics part of football now because John Robinson did not believe in it, and who knows if Vrabel did at all either. But I like that part of his background a lot. And then he joined the Niners under Kyle Shanahan in 2017 and 2018 as a defensive quality control coach. In 2019 and 2020, he moved to the offensive side of the football as an offensive assistant, and in 2021, he became the offensive passing game specialist. In 2022, he then became the offensive passing game coordinator. Now, I love that he went from the defense to the offense, love it. In 2023, he became the Texans offensive coordinator. Now, he obviously has ties to the Niners and to Ran Carthon, who came from San Francisco as well. This guy is personally my favorite choice, my number 1 choice. I am a Bobby Slowik fan. I really am. He has experience on both sides of the football, like I said earlier, and comes from the Shanahan tree, which I like. And he's a young and up-and-comer. We need to go this route, in my opinion, and take a shot on a guy like this. We are trying to replicate the Niners, it seems. And what better way than to hire Bobby Slowik? Now, guys, let me know what you think about these guys. These are my 3 favorite. I told you who I didn't like earlier, like the Panthers offensive coordinator. And, I'm not a Dan Quinn guy either. Macdonald's the only defensive candidate that I would be interested in even entertaining because, the Ravens are just absolutely smacking people and that defense is balling out. But let me know what you guys think. Are these your 3 favorite too by any chance? Or is there someone I'm missing? Let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, guys, tighten up.